And greetings everyone. This is going to be a review of the Grado PS2000e. And I had before this the PS1000e, also the PS500, a couple of 325s, GH1, GH3, and the white headphone. And get some background here before we dig too far into this. Give you a quick look at the white headphone here, if that will show up in the picture. There we go. White headphone. And I got these at TTVJ Audio, Todd the Vinyl Junkie. So that's where I got them. And on this PS2000e, I had a little glitch here. I'll show you what that is. The gimbals that the air cups are mounted on, we can see that real clearly here. This is hard to see. Here we go. Okay. You should be able to see here that the gimbal is mounted on a frame here, like a half-moon frame. And on the right side, right where that mounting is, if we're focused on there, that's it's angled in a little bit so that ear cup angles in towards your head. Now on the left side, they put a gimbal over there that was actually a right side gimbal mounted the same way. And the problem with that was that it made the ear cup go way away from my head on the left side, because they had two right side gimbals there. So I wound up breaking it. Didn't mean to, but I was bending it and it snapped off. And the gimbal snapped off inside that little frame there. And because there were some residual threads left in there, I couldn't put it back together. So I ordered new pieces. They were shipped on the 27th of August, but here it is 13 days later and I still don't have the pieces. But anyway, I managed to dummy up the headphone with some twisty ties here so that I could actually use it. So it fit my head, and it does work. And the sound is obviously magnificent for $2,700. I don't think for $4,000 you can beat this thing. I mean, the way that the drivers they use, the way they tune it and all that for music, it's not one of these hobby headphones like the I don't know, the Focal Utopia or something. This is really made for music. It's what Grado does. If you ever doubt what you're hearing with this open back headphone, just put your hands over top of the outside of the driver right here and everything else and watch the sound really change. And the ear cups, I'm going to pull one off here, ear pads rather, so you can see some of the wood that they use on there. And, you know, I mean, they tell you that they use wood in building these things and everything else, and that it affects the sonic properties and all that sort of thing. There's a surface of the driver. But exactly what they do, of course, is proprietary, and in this case, it certainly works very well. And another improvement they did over the PS1000e was the headband. I think it's a little wider, and maybe it has a little more of that leather padding underneath right here. But it does spread over the head better, and it's more comfortable. This is not a walking around headphone. There's enough weight, and that if you walk around and you move your head, then it's going to shift around on your head some, and might feel like a bowl of water sitting on top of your head that's not anchored really well, and just start kind of jiggling. So not a really good thing to do. I had a headphone that was heavy like this, called the Final Audio Pandora 6, and I think it's got a different name now, 6, 7, 8, whatever. But it was worse. It was when you'd sit down with it and everything else, it would not only press on your head because it was so heavy, but it's hard to keep from moving your head even a tiny bit, where it would jiggle around. This isn't bad like that at all. With this, I can sit and I can make normal head movements while sitting up, or stretching out on a something that has a little more of an angle to it for sitting and listening to music. Anyway, just an amazing build to this thing, and it has the difference other cosmetically with the PS1000 is this has a kind of a smoky chrome finish on here, where the PS1000e had a bright chrome finish. I really like this. It's pretty elegant. I'll worry about that ear pad later. Well, maybe I should worry about it now. One thing I did want to show is how this headphone, being as large as it is with a fairly thick cable and the 1/4-inch plug on here, how easy it is to get this thing into a compact headphone box. So the Grado carry case, don't worry, I'm going to get to the sound. Grado carry case, gosh, I hope I can get this on here real quick. Let's get the ear pad on. Yeah, there we go. All right, away we go. So it's large, but it'll fit in any suitcase real easy. It's maybe a little large for a backpack, but it'll be pretty compact. And one thing you want to do is when you put the thing on your head or take the thing off your head is keep the ear cups, angled the same general direction here, so that you're not turning these cables around and twisting them too much. You can probably twist them a lot, thousands of times, but the point of it is since there's no stoppers there, you could rotate that ear cup around to the point where it would really twist up the cable. Something fierce. Now here, see if we can see this really well. Yeah. Pick these up, make sure that they're angled the right way in those toward the ear cups. Coil the cable up. Can we see what I'm doing here? I'm basically coiling the cable up, and I keep the coil going the same direction every time, so I'm not putting any new bends into the cable. Then take and lift this up, push down into the wires going to the ear cups, zip this little critter up, and there we go. Nice compact case that you can take thing anywhere you want. I'd take it to a hotel or whatever, on vacation, but definitely not anywhere else, like, public transport or outdoor use or any of that kind of stuff. This is the sort of thing that you pay big money for, and you use it at home with a good hi-fi set. Now, I have a preference for portable amps, and got a lot of them here, so let's run through these real quick. Show you what I'm using this with. I have the Oppo HA2, and I don't think they make these things anymore. Nice little amp. One thing I like about the Oppo is it has its own battery in it, and it has plenty of power. Plenty enough power for good dynamics on this headphone. The headphone's pretty efficient. But in fact, I'm saying something in my written review, which you'll be able to find in a few days, about where Steve Gutenberg talked about how Grado headphones have kind of like a horn speaker sound. Well, it's not so much the horn color at all. It's more the absolutely effortless sound because of the efficiency of the thing. Horns are extremely efficient. They're made right. And this is very efficient. And portable amp like the Oppo has plenty of power to drive this thing. Lots of extra power. Just for fun, I got a low-price tube amp here, the Bravo Ocean. And in spite of the price, it's actually pretty good. It's clean sounding. And you need clean electricity for it. So if you use an amp that's going to run off of electricity and you don't have a really super-duper power box, if it does have an input that's DC voltage, like that one does because it has a converter box, then get yourself a DC power pack. Get yourself a bunch of D batteries, put them together until you have 24 volts, and power it that way. And then that way you won't have the AC line interference. And let's see what we have here. Here we have the Dragonfly Cobalt. $300, just like that Oppo there. It doesn't have its own power. It's efficient enough to power the Grado headphone for decent dynamics on most music, but I think there's a lot of things that really run out of power on with that headphone and the Dragonfly, because it just doesn't have enough juice. It gets it off the phone or iPad or whatever that you have. This is the 1/4-inch adapter that they include with the headphone. And if I didn't open this box, these large size headphones now are coming with a large size box, of course. The Grado also comes with a 15-foot extension cable. Whoa, what a monster that is. This thing must weigh over a pound. But, it's a heavy-duty cable, and they make it so that you're not going to lose any signal on that cable. Very, very heavy-duty cable, very reinforced. So on. Another amp here, a little portable amp, FiO Q1 Mark II. This is actually a pretty darn good little amp. I told people with this one here and the Grado, sound could get a little bit edgy on some music tracks, depending on how edgy of music tracks that you have. But I think compared to the Oppo, it's a tiny bit more edgy. Same with the Dragonfly Cobalt. But it's still a very decent amp with a lot of resolution for something its size. Over here, we have something I use with a laptop. It's the Meridian Explorer 2. Got a deal on that, of course, for like $200. It was normally $300. And main claim to fame of this Explorer 2 is that if you're playing an MQA track, it's not just a renderer, but it's a decoder as well. So decoder, renderer, Meridian Explorer 2, and then some old cheapies here. Well, not both of them. Here's the old PA2V2 I got from Canada, about $70. PA2V2, not a bad amp. Sounds pretty clean. Runs on batteries. Its own battery. Here is something that costs $600, and this is the Layman Traveler. So $600 portable amp, Layman Traveler, and it's good. But I think this amp here also can get just a little bit edgy sounding with some music with this headphone. It's very accurate, very high res, but get a little bit edgy. Now here, with this particular amp, if I can get it out of my special case I made, is the Mojo, Chord Mojo. And with the Mojo, we're on green, so we're down to 50 to 75%. Now the Chord Mojo is a great little amp, and it has its own power, so it has plenty of dynamic range in there for this headphone. And sound is smoother. It doesn't have the edginess of that FiO or the Layman Traveler. But like I said, I like the portable amps as much as possible. I like things to run on batteries, so I don't have the AC line to worry about. But anyway, still very high res and a lot of detail in spite of the kind of smoothing effect of the sound here. They got some stuff going on in here. I don't know, it's not a normal DAC. It uses one of the known DAC chips. It uses a kind of a different topology that's I can't even explain. I'd have to read it out of a book. But they do their own thing. They somehow do the digital conversion without using a conventional DAC chip. And it works. Maybe that has something to do with the smoothness of the sound. Who knows? So anyway, I've ran through all this stuff here. Now, the sound of the headphone, the PS2000e, let's pull up a couple of EQ curves here. Here's an EQ curve I did for this headphone. And as you can see, I boosted the bass a little bit, maybe about 5 decibels, around 40 hertz. So that's your deep bass down there. And I cut the lower mid-range down around 200 hertz here for maybe 4 or 5 decibels there. To cut out some of that extra warmth they have here. Then in the treble, there's not a lot going on in there. Found maybe a little soft spot there around 5 kilohertz, and Now the differences that I detect from flat here are quite often the opposite of what I get with other headphones. So it's not just my ears to the headphone. I'm equalizing for something that sounds like live music as I hear it, because I hear a lot of live music, acoustic especially. And but I would say that a lot of people are going to find this to be a little bit bright because I've reduced the treble about 3 to 4 decibels at several points here, 2, 4, and probably 7 and 9 kilohertz here. No biggie, it's not much change, but if you do find it a tiny bit bright, I think you could just roll off your treble very slightly with a treble control or equalizer or whatever, and you'd be home free. And by comparison, here's what I did with the Grado white headphone. As you can see, I did a pretty whopping increase, centered around 60 hertz with the white headphone in the bass, and a fairly good cut there in the lower mids. And then I had a pretty substantial cut, very substantial, around 7 kilohertz here. Quite a cut there, about 8 decibel cut. So otherwise, the sound of these two is different, very different. The Grado White was based on the SR325, a small headphone. They put the big pads on it and then the wood parts and everything else to kind of tune it up for whatever sound they were looking for there. And I described it in some pretty glowing terms because it is a good one. This PS2000e though, I used 4 words that I keyed my written review off of, and they were breathtaking and impactful, dynamic, whatever. Those are old words that people use, but palpable and that sort of thing. The absolute control that you get with this and the incredible ease of producing that sound, the effortless sound, is so amazing that, and a lot of people have described this as, I don't know, more neutral, even more cold or something compared to some of the woodies that they have, like the GS2000e, GS3000e. And in direct comparison, of course, it wouldn't sound warm like they do, but it's definitely not a cold sound. It's definitely not a analytical sound, and it's definitely not a whatever clinical sound. No, it's great, all right, but it's really outstanding sound that I think just gets closer to what music should sound like without all the noise and irritation and all the stuff that conventional headphones produce, especially when they have a lot of reflections inside the ear cups. And that's especially true, of course, of closed-back headphones. So with this, highly, highly, highly recommended if you happen to get one that has gimbals both going the wrong direction, or one's going the right direction, but the other one's going the same direction, which needs to be turned around. Don't bend it, don't snap it off. Find out how to take it apart and turn it around the right way. And you'll be home free. So there we have our nice little large Grado PS2000e, heavy, but very comfortable to wear. I'd get by with it for a couple hours at least at a time now. And nice compact case to put it into, extra $40. No biggie. And there we go. That's probably about all I need to say about that for this video review. Look up my written review in a couple of days when that comes out. Thank you very much.